My sister Tracy, she loves when it snows, and she died that morning when it was actually pouring down snow in Virginia. So my sister's now a snowflake.
I'll see y'all later.
Okay, see you later.
Cheers, get your life. You make it so hard. Love you. You make it so hard.
Tamar and Toni Braxton's viral confession is proving that they are finally ready to tell everything. But the one sister who deserved their apologies the most won't be around to hear them.
It is so hard for me.
I'm not speaking against your sisters or nothing, but you gotta do as best you can.
Trina called me on the day of the shoot, and then she put me on three-way with Tawanda. They wanted me not to show up to work.
While Toni built an empire and Tamar chased fame, Traci Braxton was left behind and spent decades as the sister nobody wanted. The humiliation broke something in her that never healed.
I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
When she died from cancer in 2022, the sisters who spent years laughing at her suddenly wanted to honor her memory. But the damage was already done, and some wounds run too deep for death to heal. So let's get into it. Traci Renee Braxton was born on April 2nd, 1971, in Severn, Maryland, into a household where music and faith were inseparable. Traci was the third child, born 4 years after her older sister Toni, and 3 years after her only brother Michael Jr. She would eventually have 2 younger sisters, Tawanda, born in 1973, Trina in 1974, and Tamar in 1977. Growing up in Severn, the Braxton children were raised under strict religious rules that governed everything from what they could watch on television to what music they could listen to. Secular music was forbidden in the home, and the children's first exposure to performing came through singing in church choirs at various congregations where their father preached. From an early age, Traci showed musical talent that was perhaps overshadowed by her older sister Toni's exceptional voice, but was undeniable nonetheless. The Braxton children toured the East Coast with their parents, performing gospel music at churches and religious events throughout the region. These experiences gave them performance training and stage presence that most children never received. But they also created a complicated dynamic where the children were constantly being compared to one another, with Toni's superior vocal abilities establishing a hierarchy that Traci would struggle against for her entire life.
I'm so tired of the hurt, the house light is on, 'cause it's my last.
Traci's position as the middle child, not the oldest and most talented, not the baby who received the most attention, meant she often felt overlooked, even within her own family. The famous toilet paper song incident, which the sisters would later credit as their first songwriting experience, happened when 5-year-old Tamar demanded someone bring her toilet paper. The siblings gathered in the bathroom and began harmonizing, creating a silly song that made them realize they sounded good together. For Traci, these early moments of sibling harmony represented the closeness she craved with her sisters, a bond that felt special and unbreakable. By the late 1980s, the 5 Braxton sisters had officially formed a singing group called the Braxtons, with Toni, Traci, Tawanda, Trina, and Tamar harmonizing together in a way that showcased their combined vocal talents.
Slow flow, so the love is good to go. From now on, I'm
In 1989, when Traci was just 18 years old, the group caught the attention of Arista Records and signed their first recording contract. For Traci, this moment represented everything she had dreamed of: professional validation, the chance to perform with her sisters on a national stage, and the possibility of escaping the modest circumstances of their Maryland upbringing. The contract felt like destiny fulfilled, proof that all those years of church performances and family harmonies had been building towards something significant. In 1990, the Braxtons released their debut single Good Life on Arista Records. The song showcased their harmonies and gave them their first taste of being recording artists with a major label behind them. But the reality of the music industry quickly became apparent. Good Life peaked at number 79 on the Billboard R&B chart, which label executives deemed a commercial failure. The group faced an additional marketing problem that had nothing to do with their talent. Their ages were too spread out. Toni was 23, Traci was 19, and baby sister Tamar was only 13. Marketing a girl group with such an age range proved challenging for executives who wanted a cohesive image they could sell. In 1991, Antonio L.A. Reid and Kenneth Babyface Edmonds attended a showcase where the Braxtons performed. The sisters believed this would be their second chance, another opportunity to prove themselves as a group. But what happened next would fracture their family in ways that would never fully heal. Reid and Babyface pulled Toni aside and offered her a solo contract with LaFace, explicitly telling the remaining sisters that they weren't looking for a girl group since they had just signed TLC. For Traci, watching her oldest sister being chosen while she and her other sisters were rejected felt like a betrayal. Even though rationally she understood that Toni's voice was exceptional, Toni signed with LaFace as their first female solo artist in 1991, and the Braxtons as a quintet effectively disbanded. The remaining sisters, Traci, Towanda, Trina, and Tamar, were offered positions as backup singers for Toni's tour, music videos, and promotional appearances. It was a consolation prize that felt humiliating to Traci, who went from being a member of the group to literally standing in the background while her sister received all the attention and acclaim. They appeared in the music video for 7 whole days, smiling and dancing behind Toni, while she lip-synced to a song that was becoming a hit. In the mid-1990s, Bryant Reid, an A&R executive who had been working with the Braxtons, moved from LaFace to Atlantic Records and convinced both labels to allow him to take the remaining Braxton sisters to Atlantic with him. This seemed like the breakthrough the 4 sisters had been waiting for. Finally, they would get their chance to record and release music as a group. But then, Traci discovered she was pregnant. When Atlantic Records learned of Traci's pregnancy, executives made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. They told the group that they didn't want a pregnant woman in the lineup. In the 1990s music industry, image was everything, and record labels wanted to market girl groups as objects of desire. Women that every man wanted and every woman wanted to be. A visibly pregnant member didn't fit that fantasy. The label gave the remaining sisters a choice: sign the contract as a foursome without Traci, or walk away from the deal entirely. Toni, Towanda, Trina, and Tamar chose to sign without her.
It is so hard for me.
And I'm not speaking against your sisters or nothing, but you gotta do as best you can.
Trina called me on the day of the shoot, and then she put me on 3-way with Towanda. They wanted me not to show up to work.
The pain of being left behind was existential for Traci. For years, she stepped back from music entirely. While her sisters toured, recorded, and appeared on television, she worked as a youth counselor, channeling her energy into helping young people navigate challenges. It was meaningful work, but it wasn't what she dreamed of doing. In 2011, nearly 20 years after being excluded from the Atlantic Records deal, Traci got an unexpected second chance when WETV signed Toni Braxton and her sisters for a new reality series called Braxton Family Values. The show would follow the interpersonal relationships between the sisters, their mother, Evelyn, and their respective families. For Traci, this was an opportunity to finally be part of something with her sisters again. The show premiered in April 2011 and was an immediate success, with audiences fascinated by the dynamics between the sisters and their strong personalities. But the show's success came at a cost for Traci, who quickly discovered that reality television thrives on conflict and drama.
You make it so hard. Love you. You make it so hard.
Producers encouraged storylines that portrayed Traci as the insecure sister, the one who was jealous of Toni's success and bitter about the past. Behind the scenes, some producers allegedly gave Traci cruel nicknames like Ghetto Braxton and Wannabe, labels that reinforced the narrative that she didn't belong in the same category as her more successful sisters. The show also exposed private family matters that Traci believed should have remained behind closed doors. In one particularly painful incident, her sisters discussed her husband Kevin's alleged infidelity on camera without her consent or advance warning. When Traci later gave interviews, she expressed deep hurt over this betrayal, explaining that she couldn't believe her sisters would expose her marital problems to the nation without asking her first.
The tour drama, the talk behind my back, insult my husband, and all this is just, it's too much. It's too much, and I can't hold back right now.
Despite the complications, Braxton family values gave Traci something she'd never had: her own income stream and a degree of fame separate from just being Toni's sister. The show's success enabled her to pursue other opportunities, including joining the cast of Marriage Boot Camp with Kevin in 2013, where they worked through marital issues on camera. The exposure also helped her when she decided to launch her solo music career. In 2013, at age 42, Traci signed with independent label Entertainment One. After years of watching her sisters record and release music, she was finally getting her chance. On October 7, 2014, Traci released her debut solo album, Crash and Burn, a title that reflected both her determination and the obstacles she'd faced. The album's lead single, Last Call, sold 4,000 copies in its first week and reached number 108 on the Billboard 200, while the album itself claimed the number 11 spot on the R&B albums chart.
I'm so painful. It's my last call.
These were respectable numbers for an independent release by a 43-year-old first-time solo artist, and Traci had every reason to be proud. The album showcased her vocal abilities and featured personal songs about her experiences, relationships, and journey. But instead of celebrating her achievement, her sister Tamar publicly mocked the album on social media, criticizing Traci's use of auto-tune and essentially dismissing her artistic efforts. For Traci, who had waited decades for this moment, having her youngest sister ridicule her work publicly was devastating. Tamar's criticism reinforced all of Traci's worst fears: that her family didn't take her seriously as an artist, that they saw her as the wannabe sister trying to ride their coattails rather than someone with genuine talent. The public nature of Tamar's comments made the humiliation worse, as fans and media outlets picked up on the sister drama and created narratives about family jealousy and competition.
See this right here? Now this is
No,
disrespectful.
because she continued to disrespect me,
Okay.
and I'm tired of it.
Okay.
Traci launched her own radio show called The Traci Braxton Show on BLIS.FM in 2013, giving her another platform to connect with fans and establish her brand separate from her sisters. She also pursued acting, appearing in stage plays like There's a Stranger in My House in 2017, and films including Sinners Wanted in 2018, All In starring Lil Mama in 2019, and The Christmas Lottery in 2020. She collaborated with rapper Kokai on the track Moonlight in 2017. In April 2018, she released the single Broken Things, featuring her sisters Toni, Tawanda, and Trina, finally getting to record with some of her sisters in an official capacity. On August 24, 2018, Traci released her second studio album, On Earth, with the lead single Lifeline released earlier that month. Once again, the album received minimal promotion or support from her sisters, particularly from Toni and Tamar, whose platforms could have significantly boosted her visibility. The lack of support made it clear that despite appearing together on Braxton Family Values, the sisters' relationships remained fractured beneath the surface. Traci felt abandoned once again by the very people who should have been championing her success. The tensions that had been building for years exploded during the Season 6 finale of Braxton Family Values, filmed during a family trip to Napa Valley in 2018. The trip was supposed to celebrate Tamar's birthday and Trina's engagement, marking the first time all the sisters traveled together with their romantic partners. But instead of being a joyful celebration, the trip became a battlefield where years of resentment erupted in ways that couldn't be edited or smoothed over. Problems began almost immediately when Traci's husband, Kevin, gave cigars to all the men during a wine tasting event. Tamar became upset because she didn't want her boyfriend David Adefeso smoking cigars on camera. As the weekend progressed, Tawanda's boyfriend Sean and Tamar's boyfriend David conceived a plan to hold a meeting with all the sisters to help them address their conflicts. When Traci found out about this plan, she made her feelings clear. She did not want their boyfriends interfering in family business, and she would not participate in any manufactured sit-down orchestrated by men who didn't understand the decades of pain and resentment that defined their relationships. But the production team and her sisters pushed forward with the meeting anyway, disregarding Traci's explicit objections. During the confrontation, Traci accused Tawanda of causing problems within the family, calling her a snake and making it clear that trust between them had completely eroded.
What made y'all think it was okay to do what y'all did last night?
Hold on.
No, hold on. I'm getting right down to it. What made you think that was okay to do yesterday?
Kevin tried to explain to the sisters that Traci's pain was deep-rooted and decades old, that these issues should have been resolved long ago. Instead of taking his concerns seriously, Tamar brought up Kevin's past incarceration, using personal information against him as a weapon. The disrespect shown to her husband was the final straw for Traci, who felt her sisters would rather attack the people defending her than address their own behavior. Kevin found Traci crying in the bathroom, telling him that she now saw her sisters as just co-workers rather than family, that the love she'd once felt for them was gone. Despite her emotional state, she decided to go back and face them. But when they returned to the table, Toni informed them that Trina had already left. As Traci began to walk away, Tamar made a snide comment that pushed Traci over the edge. She turned around and told Tamar directly that she made it so hard to love her. In a moment of complete loss of control, Traci even lunged at a nearby cameraman. Another devastating moment came during what should have been a joyful celebration, Trina's wedding reception. During the reception, their father, Michael Sr., got up to sing and asked Traci to join him. Traci, who deeply loved her father and valued any opportunity to perform, eagerly got up and sang with him. She poured emotion into the performance, feeling proud to share this moment with her dad. But after she sat back down, another wedding guest told her that her sisters had been laughing at her while she sang, mocking her performance behind her back. For Traci, this felt like her deepest fears confirmed. Her sisters didn't respect her talent and actually found her attempts at singing amusing rather than impressive. Later, Toni would claim they were simply laughing and having fun watching their father perform, that it was a happy moment with no malicious intent toward Traci. But for someone who had spent decades feeling like the laughingstock of the family, the perceived mockery cut to her core. She exploded in anger, cursing and yelling at her family, declaring that she didn't mess with them anymore because they didn't truly love her. When Traci retreated to a dressing room, Tamar followed her, attempting to calm the situation. But Traci let all her accumulated anger out, telling Tamar that she was never real, that she was fake, a fraud, and a phony. When Tamar tried to reassure her by saying she loved her, Traci shot back that she didn't love her, that she never had, demanding that Tamar get out of her face. The confrontation revealed the depth of pain that Traci had been carrying. This wasn't just about one incident at a wedding. This was about 20+ years of feeling unloved, unsupported, and disrespected. After these painful incidents, Traci made a significant decision. She would no longer mix business with family. She realized that working with her sisters on Braxton family values was damaging their personal relationships rather than strengthening them. She was also dealing with profound grief over the death of her niece, Lauren, whom she had helped raise and loved like a daughter.
I'm afraid. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I do.
The sisters attempted family therapy with Iyanla Van Zandt, but instead of bringing healing, the sessions made tensions worse. Eventually, they negotiated new terms with the network and continued filming, publicly claiming they had worked through their differences. In 2022, Traci Braxton faced her most difficult battle when she was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. She had been experiencing symptoms but initially dismissed them, not realizing the severity until doctors delivered the devastating diagnosis. Esophageal cancer is particularly aggressive and difficult to treat, especially when caught in later stages. Traci began treatment, enduring the brutal side effects of chemotherapy and radiation while trying to maintain hope that she could beat the disease. She kept her diagnosis relatively private, sharing the news with close family but not making a public announcement that would subject her to intense media scrutiny during such a vulnerable time. On March 12, 2022, at just 50 years old, Traci Braxton passed away after her battle with esophageal cancer.
When it snows, and she died that morning when it was actually pouring down snow in Virginia. So my sister's now a snowflake.
Her death shocked fans and the entertainment community, many of whom hadn't even known she was sick. The sisters released statements expressing their grief and love for Traci, finally acknowledging publicly what they had often failed to show her during her life, that she was valued, talented, and irreplaceable. But the family drama didn't end with Traci's death. Her husband, Kevin Surratt, planned a funeral service, but several Braxton family members chose not to attend, claiming that the service Kevin organized wasn't what Traci had wanted. According to Tawanda and Trina, Traci had specified in her will that she didn't want a traditional funeral, and they felt Kevin was exploiting her death by organizing a service against her stated wishes.
Because there was a pretty public rift between our side of the family and him right after Traci passed. We understood from Traci herself that she didn't want a funeral, and she wanted to stay private for that part of her passing, but Traci's husband decided to have a funeral anyway.
The disagreement over Traci's funeral arrangements revealed that the tensions between Kevin and the Braxton sisters persisted even after her death. Tawanda and Trina were adamant that they wanted to respect Traci's actual wishes, rather than participate in an event they believed she would have opposed. They made it clear in interviews for their new show, The Braxtons, that people had unfairly judged them for not attending Kevin's service, when in reality they had honored their sister's memory in private ways that aligned with what she truly wanted. In an episode of The Braxtons, Tamar sat down with a medium who claimed to be channeling Traci's spirit. The medium conveyed messages allegedly from Traci, including that she was sorry for how things happened before she passed away and wished she had done some things differently with her family. The medium said Traci wanted her sisters to know she loved each and every one of them. Whether genuine spiritual communication or performance for the cameras, the moment highlighted what had been lost, the opportunity for the sisters to truly reconcile with Traci while she was still alive. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.